Hey everybody, welcome to Reporting 101 in Link to Feed, and I'm Nick Amos, the data analyst from the Blue Ridge Area Food Bank and your Link to Feed network administrator. And we're just going to go through a couple of simple things today in the reporting world in Link to Feed. We're going to look at how to set up a report and then how to view that report. So first off, you should be at the dashboard section of your Link to Feed account to begin. Most of you should now be quite comfortable with logging in and getting to this dashboard section. Once you're here, over in this left hand side, you're going to see your navigation pane, this black little rectangle here, and you should see reports as an option there. Here's an important point. If you don't see reports there, it means that it's not turned on in your account settings, and that may be true for some of our early adopters because we did a bulk import of users at that time. So all that said, if you don't see reports at the dashboard section, shoot us an email and let us know, and we'll get it turned on shortly. We have been turning that on for subsequent users, but for some of the early users, that may not be there. So when you do see reports, you click on reports and get the drop down, and you'll see new report, report inbox, recurring reports, and you may not see these other two. I think those are network level settings that only I see. To build a new report, you click on the new report button, and then you will get a list of the reports that you are set up to build, and most of you should only see 3 reports there. You'll see the heat map report, you'll see the interactive household report, and you'll see the statistics report. If you do CSFP stuff, you may see the CSFP reports, but we're going to focus today on the ones that are for everyone. So the heat map report is a completely visual report, just showing the folks that you've served. The interactive household report is a report mainly designed for looking at the network level at multiple organizations. Some of you may like the way that looks. I think most of you are going to want to run your basic statistics report. And so on statistics report, you just click the plus new report button, and this is the screen where you set up that report. First things first, you have to give it a name. So we'll call this March Stats Report. You have to give it a name. So you can share it underneath there. You see this report is either just for me, so only you as a user will see it, or if you click the secondary option, share with, it will share that with everyone from your organization. So whoever is a user at your pantry and is a reporter will be able to see that report. So whichever way you want it, however you want to work that is fine with me. I just wanted to share those options with you. This second pane here, you'll see it's scheduling the report. So you have basically 2 broad options here. You can leave it as it is to be run only one time, and it'll just run that and put it in your inbox, or we can select these other recurrences. We can have it run daily, we can have it run weekly, we can have it run bi-weekly or fortnightly as they call it here. We can have it run monthly or quarterly or yearly. So on this first one, I'm going to set it up as a one-off and leave the defaults starting today, the time of now. So that's scheduling the report. Not to be confused with selecting the date range of the report. So this is a once only report, so I need to select my dates. I'm going to leave the default what I choose, and I'm going to choose a start date. We'll go back to January 1. and then we're going to choose an end date, and I like to use that integrated calendar functionality, especially on this reporting stuff. It's quite fast. So I've selected my date range. Next, I select my organization. You'll see on our test site here I have some multiple organizations as options. You will only have one organization that you will see. So you'll only have the one option here. It's however many organizations that you are set up to view, then you will see that. Don't worry about that aggregate function because you're only going to be running reports for a single organization. Now, the program types is something that you will have multiples of. So you could run this report to only show your TFAP pantry visits. You could run it to only show your non-USDA pantry visits. You could run it to only show your CSFP visits. Or this little green button up here will select all those checkboxes. And on the stats report, the very last option is choosing the sections of the report. And unless you have a really specific thing you want to build this report for, to say print it off and give it to someone, I suggest selecting all, and you're just going to scroll down to get to the information you want in the end of the line report. So it's an easy select all, checks all the boxes, and it's going to give you the maximum amount of information. And you see I just clicked build report, and it automatically takes me to my report inbox. See, I have a number of reports here. The one at the top is the new one that I just created. Its status is in queue, so it's not available, so I have to refresh my browser. And you may have to refresh your browser a couple of times. And so what you want to see under status is the green check mark. That means your report is ready for you to view. And then to view it, you select the little graph button there. And this is going to take you to your report, and it's loading here, it's loading. And so this is like maximum level report here, right? So got a lot of information. So age groups of your clients, and it also differentiates here between a duplicated count, so that's if folks came more than once, it'll count them multiple times, or when we get down here you'll see unique count, which will only count people one time for during the report period. You see I ran this report for multiple months, and so it's very probable that I'll have multiple visits if I run a report for more than 1 month. You've got this report in your tabular numerical format, and you have a couple of graphs that it's going to auto generate for you. And this is the same information, so this table here and this pie chart and this bar chart are all the same information, just displayed different ways. You'll notice in the top of any of these graphs I have a convert to PNG button, and what that'll do is just export this graph as an image. So if you have email newsletters, if you have paper printout newsletters, if you want to integrate these into say grant application or something of that sort, makes it real easy to draw out those charts and then just insert them in whatever other document that you would find it useful to insert them into. We'll keep going down here. So then we've got our age group unique, and so it's binning our clients by age group, and it's only counting them one time over non-duplicated count. It's the same deal as above. This table information is presented in both a pie chart format and a bar chart format. And we'll just keep going down through here. We have a number of bits of information here: unique individual, age groups, partner age groups. You'll see a number of different ways that this is set up. Okay, and we'll just keep scrolling down through here. You'll see every metric that we had the boxes checked for, and we checked all of those boxes. you'll see here in different forms. So this is a count of the cities that people are from, and you get your percentages in the pie chart, and you get your hard count in the column chart. And county of residence for your households. You get this nice interactive, when you're on this reporting page, this is interactive, so you scroll over that and you can get your actual hard count, and then you've got your percentages on the graph there, graphic there, counties and so forth. So that's that, and once you run that report on your individuals, that's individuals that you have served during the reported period, you'll see you can go down through there and look at all that info. So that is setting up a one-off or a one-time only report. So let's say that there is a set report, like obviously you probably want to look at this statistics report monthly and maybe quarterly even, or maybe even weekly, but at the minimum I would say that you would want to look at it monthly, right? So let's look at how we set that up one time and have it run for us every single month. So I'm going to go back to new report, and I get my list of potential reports. I select new report on the statistics report. This is just like before. I have to give it a title, so I'm going to call it monthly stats, and I'm going to put March there because I may already have a report titled monthly stats, and I want it to be run monthly, and we want to start it today. We'll leave that there. You could start it at the first of the month or something like that. So the big change here, I want it to be run, I select the interval, so that's monthly in this case. And then the other big change from the one-time only report is the dates are last month. So just to recap here, I start it, scroll up a bit here, I start it say on the first of the month, and the dates are last month, and so at the first of every month I'll get a report on the previous month. So it's the relative dates there, so I want it to be run monthly starting at the first of the month. The dates are last month, and you'll just select your organization, and you'll only have one option there. Again, you'll see that, and it's the only option. You can select a single program type, so maybe you want to set up multiple monthly reports to have a separate one for USDA, have a separate one for non-USDA, and some of you are doing those generic programs like those clothing programs and those furniture programs and those other types of assistance programs. Maybe you want to break that out into a separate report. You can break them out into separate reports, or you can select all and have this report just be every program type. And then you can select all on the sections of the report, and you'll, as you run these reports a couple of times, you'll see what works for you and what you could care less about, and you could uncheck those boxes that you could care less about, so it's a more condensed, faster read for you when you are looking at those reports. So that's it. I just hit create report, and it is now, it automatically takes me back to my report inbox, and monthly stats March, you'll see here, and it is in queue. So I'm going to refresh my browser, and it is still in queue. So I'm going to refresh my browser, and we're still waiting. So, and sometimes if it's a large report, you will have to wait a bit. One more time. No, I'm still not showing up. So we'll give it just a moment here and just persist here, so just keep loading the old page there. And we're still waiting. Okay, well, we're still waiting. So while we're waiting on that, I want to show you over here, back to the navigation bar over here. You'll see there is a button that says Recurring Reports. I click on that. You'll see a couple of these reports I have in here already set to recur monthly, and I have their next run time. And this is where, if I don't want that recurring report anymore, this is where I delete that report, and so it won't recur anymore after I hit the trash can in the recurring reports section. So this is where you would see maybe at the very beginning when you have these recurring reports and you've selected all of those options for the fields that it's going to report on. Maybe down the road you determine the fields that you could care less about and you want to revise your monthly report, and you can just delete it and start over. And this is where you would, that's the only use of this recurring reports section here, is to delete reports that you've already got running. And so I'm going to go back to my inbox, and I can always go back to my inbox to see my reports. And that one is just not going to run for me. That's neither here nor there, to be honest with you, because it's going to just be this exact same sections, just built for a different time period. And so that is how you do a recurring report. And the benefits of that are, you go through that and you spend exactly the same amount of time as you would spend to build a one-time only report, except that you get an updated report every month. And so you only have to build it the one time. You can just go in and refresh it and look at it, and there you go. You'll have your report. So we'll go back, and that's the two main things I wanted to show you, but I do want to go over, so that was the statistics report. So we can go over also the interactive household report, and so I'm going to call that HH report for March, and we'll run it only one time, but we're gonna draw multiple months in there just so we can get a breadth of information. And we're going to do all of our organizations and all of our programs. So that's all you're doing there for the household report. It's just dates, just like statistics report. And you'll select, your organization will be the only one you can select. So maybe we'll deselect all, and we'll show you what that's going to look like to be just a single organization. And then you select your program types. And so there's less options on the interactive household report than the statistics report. And that's why I really emphasize the statistics report, because that one is going to give you the most in-depth bit of information. You see, this one is just going to stack up, you know, this information here. And so what you can do here is pivot the rest of this chart on anything you see here. So I have my 60-year-olds, my 0 to 18-year-olds, and so forth. Now let's say I want to filter the rest of this report by folks 60 and above. So I pivot it. And now you're going to see everything else in this report is filtered by that pivot. And you'll see it up here right under the heading of each chart. And so then, say I don't want to do it that way, I just remove all and I get my full report again. Let's say something different. Let's say I want to sort by only folks that came from Verona, and I just hit my pivot button, and then I get everything else in this chart is now based on what I click there on the pivot. So everybody that came, this is a breakdown of all the folks that came to my pantry from the city of Verona. So we'll remove that one. And we'll go down and say, let's find another one we can just show you here. So pivot my whole report on those with full-time employment. So basically I've run through a couple options there just to show you that you can pivot this thing a number of ways. So, and I can add multiple. So right now I have full-time employment and folks from Verona. I can add to that, and I can keep adding filters as I go, and I can always remove filters as I go. So this is one where, you know, just run this report for say a month or two and get in there and play around with it, and you'll see how it works. But at its very basic level, once you have it built, wherever you see a pivot button, that's going to filter the rest of your report according to that category. So I want to pivot my whole report to filter by this one subcategory. And you can get in there and play around with that one and see how it goes. So that is the interactive household report. And the last one I want to show you, and we're going to build it from new, is the heat map report. And this one is the prettiest report that we have. So we're in a heat map, and we'll call it heat map March, to be run only once. And I'm going to do my start date. We'll go back even farther. We'll go November 1 through today. And just like all the other reports, this will become, you know, very familiar. I select my organization, and you're only going to see one option, and it'll be your pantry. That'll be the one option you see under organizations. You can select by program type, so you can select all, or you can do a single program type. And we want to this is the really specific one to the heat map report. They show a marker for each organization on the heat map report. That's going to put a little house icon on the report for every pantry, or for your pantry. And we want to show data for, and we can only select one here. So household age group, undisclosed client, female clients, unique households, male client, students, time, total visits. Unique households is the one that actually affords the most beneficial information, in my opinion, because that's going to do, you know, one bit of information for every unique household that you've served during the reporting period. So if I could give a suggestion for which thing to click there, it would be to click unique households. And you can play around with some of the other options and see if it affords you useful information, but, you know, to my vote, unique households is going to be your best bit of information there. So then we create our report, and then we have it in our report inbox. So then we're going to refresh our browser, and we've got our green check mark on our heat map report. Now we want to look at that report. Wowzers. So this is our heat map report, and you can see it's kind of all wonky here because this is our test site and we have a lot of fake, you know, information in here because we don't have, we're not looking at real client information. But this is what it's going to look like. So you see the legend here at the top, very important. So from a scale of white to red, this is a representation of the density of the client population on this map. So just looking at this, you know, dummy data here, we could say that our pantry has the most highest concentrations of visitors from Verona and from Harrisonburg. So you can see we have light blue here and light blue here, and it gets darker. Wherever it gets darker, that means we've got a higher concentration of clients. And so that's going to be really interesting to you to look at, you know, over a specified time period that you put in the report parameters, to see where the folks are coming from that are accessing your pantry, to sort of see your geographic impact, as it were. This would be real powerful in terms of just a snapshot, you know, telling your story, telling your pantry story to folks. Just a quick snapshot of info to be able to visually represent, you know, the scope of what you're doing as a pantry. And then, you know, we'll be able to see over our entire network as well the scope of what we're doing, just on a real quick snapshot level. So that is the very basics of reporting. So 3 basic reports. Statistics report, the very most useful. Interactive household report, that's one where you can play around with the data and get some interesting insights, as you go, so you can dynamically add filters within that report. That's quite an interesting one. And then the heat map report, which is sort of the broadest level, least amount of information, but a very visually impactful way to represent this data of unique households that we're serving at the pantry level. So that is a primer on reporting in Link to Feed with the Blue Ridge Area Food Bank network of pantries. As always, if you have any questions, you can reach out to us and we'll address those individually. But that is all that we have for now, and I appreciate you tuning in, and we will be back with some other tutorials and so forth on this page. So that's that, and we will see you next time. Thanks.